Okay, folks, just a reminder, audio listeners, this one is available on YouTube if you want to watch. And our guest, Neal Valera. Welcome, Neal. How are you doing, man? It's so good to have you here on our On the Mark podcast.
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. Appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, well, look, the opportunity is all mine. And open disclosure, um, I'm a golf guy. I've been in golf for donkey's years. I'm 52 and fabulous, and so I'm sort of, not as mobile as I used to be. And I was cruising around on social media, and then I found a video of yours with the mobility stick, and I'm like, gotta have. So it was one of those Instagram purchases. I went and got the two long sticks and the shorter one, and I just started messing around, kind of flying blind a little bit, but I was following your lead, and my goodness, the more I used your sticks, the more I was like, this is a no-brainer. So I had to introduce you to our audience because I feel like it can help everybody. And let's kick it off there. You're a trainer, obviously. What was the inspiration for the sticks? Tell us some about them.
So, yeah, a few of my colleagues and I, we did a class a long time ago called Stick Yoga,
Okay.
and we became instructors for this.
All
And
right.
at the time, we were using bamboo and rattan and different materials. And after teaching this for a while, it was more of a like a passive flexibility, so it was a little bit more relaxing. And we come from more of a strength training background.
All right.
So we started to add in more tension, isometrics, be able to create strength while we're in these positions so that we could actually, use it when we apply it to golf or different sports or movement in daily life.
Mhm.
So um, we got together with some of my clients, became partners, and we were able to find, the right materials to create these sticks. And at first, we just wanted to provide it to our clients. It was just kind of this a local thing, right? And orange. The reason why we have orange is we're here in San Jose, but the Giants, San
Okay.
Francisco Giants, and so we taught classes. And what happened is we posted a video online of us teaching these classes, and we had an opportunity. We got a message from Chip Morton, strength coach a former strength coach of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay.
And so we did a little demo for him, showed him what we do. And after that, he's like, I love it. Do you guys have a course, a certification? Like, yeah, actually, we don't. It's like, if you put one together,
But we'll have one
you could
with you.
come out, train our staff. So, after a few months of putting everything we had in our heads and experience, we made a system, and then we started producing more sticks. He flew us out to Cincinnati and we got started. And yeah, so we started doing our education there. And then now we've educated different trainers and physios and chiropractors.
I was, yeah, it is. And then I wanted to find out more about you and how you got to where you are. I was actually came from the gym this morning, went for a massage, and the lady who helps me out, Dana, she was helping me along there, and I said, so I'm speaking with a guy called Neal Valera later today, and he's got a product called StickMobility, and she's like, what's that? So I described the stick. She goes, really? She goes, man, that sounds awesome. I've got to have. So I guess I'm preempting the observation that look, this is not just for gym folks and it's not just for football folks. This is all encompassing. You don't need to be an athlete to benefit from these sticks. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our intention, well, most of my clients are the average person, right? And also the average person that likes to play golf.
Yeah.
Um, and so the system has to be scalable, whether it's rehab or that high level sports performance. But the sticks allow you they give you stability. So for someone that may not move so well, may not have good balance, it gives you a ton of confidence, right? And you get what you put in. So it in a way it's very it's safe because you can't push yourself too hard.
Yeah.
Say it's self-limiting,
Hmm.
right? And then as far as from the flexibility mobility standpoint, we look at mobility as a combination of flexibility and strength, right?
Okay.
Because you can be flexible, but can you use that flexibility in life, right? It's one thing to be able to get into a position, but it's another thing to be able to move well or move with strength out of that position. So with the sticks, it allows us to get leverage,
Hmm.
right? As you felt, right? Okay, oh wow, I can push myself into a
Yeah.
deeper position. But now that we're in this deeper position, we can take the stick, we can squeeze it, we can twist, and then as we squeeze, it sends that activation energy all the way down these different lines of tension.
I don't think I'm that advanced yet. Personally, no, the first thing when they came in, the first one I got, I'm sure I saw this somewhere. If I'm wrong, don't correct me because I don't want to come off like a fool. But there's one I call it like the bow and arrow, where you hold it out to your side and it stretched me down my sides like something I've never ever experienced before in my life. And I've been, you know, taught golf, announced golf, played golf in sports for most of my life, and it's just like it hits different. I guess is the descriptor. And is this kind of how the stick yoga is that how it works as well?
Stick yoga was, yeah, it was a little, I mean, there were some similarities as far as positioning and using the sticks for leverage.
Mhm.
Um, but the resistance of this stick allows you to create more force.
Gotcha.
So, like when you're doing that bow and arrow, like you have to put some effort into it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah. So when you put that effort into it, you start, your body starts to get stronger in these awkward positions, but positions that we should be able to do in our daily life.
Hmm. Well, I think of, folks from Cirque du Soleil and stuff and the positions they're getting themselves into, and I marvel at the human body. And then by the same token, I guess on the other side of the coin, I marvel at like, oh my goodness, am I that tight? And it's getting to be, in as much as what it was hard work initially, kind of fun to use these things. And I'm certain you have the same sort of response from a number of the clients you work with.
Yeah, a lot of times, people get the sticks in their hands and they try one of the moves, whether it's something from they're hanging on it or they do the bow and arrow, and you always hear the oh,
Ah, yeah.
yeah,
There's been times, mate, when I've done, when I got the thing, I'm getting so far out of context here, folks, because I was going to ask Neal about Neal, but we'll get to that. But I got the sticks in the mail and I slipped them behind my back and I'm sort of holding them wide arms with my palm up and it's over my lower back. And there's a drill like in golf, it's called early extension, right? Where your spine straightens up prematurely. And I've suffered that from when Moby Dick was a minnow. I mean, that's how long I've battled this thing. And so there was a drill I saw with you guys where you sort of rotated into a backswing and you try to
mm.
touch the ground with the end of the long stick. And that ground was like a foot and a half away from me. I'm like, are you serious? And I started to bend from my hips more, and I felt my ass light up, and I felt my lats stretch. And then to the through swing side, that was like mission impossible. But all of a sudden, I realized to get to the places I was trying to in my swing, I was just trying to do it as opposed to really stretch and activate the muscles involved. I guess so. There's a question in my observation there. You get to comment.
Yeah, we look at mobility as basically it's like the foundational physical quality that you need for all the other ones, right? Because you can't produce if you don't have adequate mobility, you're not going to be able to produce as much force or as much strength as you want to, especially for a sport like golf, where
Yeah,
if you can't get a big enough backswing, it's harder to create speed.
exactly right. Hmm.
Right. And then like you're talking about with that early extension, if you can't, load into your backside, then no matter what, then your hips have to come up.
You know what you say something there again, folks. I'm out of order, so forgive me. But you can watch this, and I'm sure we'll get Neal to demonstrate a little bit some that early extension thing. Because if you switch on the internet right now and you just type golf instruction, you're likely to find 4 or 5 videos on early extension. And it's kind of like people are just talking about the symptom as opposed to really telling you how to fix it. And it's occurring to me more and more, I guess, in my older days of wisdom now that we've developed so much because of habit over our lives that then your teacher tells you, hey, you got to do this, but your muscles just aren't primed and ready to get there. And so you
Yeah.
can try and do the thing for as long as, and you can practice, but you'll never completely achieve it with any consistency unless you get to that mobility you speak of, right?
Yeah, because if you can't do a basic hinge, right? If you can't push your hips back
Hmm.
far enough and you're doing this just in a basic daily life motion. Now you try to add the complexity of a golf swing and the speed and the coordination involved to it, you've got no chance.
Yeah, so true, man. So true. Okay, I'm going to get to the question I wanted to ask at the top. Neal Valera. I mean, I've asked you about the inspiration for StickMobility. Tell us about you. How did you come to where you are?
So I'm a lifelong golfer. So I played competitive golf, played in college, and I wanted to be a pro golfer, but wasn't quite good enough.
All
So,
right.
but one of my other passions, my whole life has been training and fitness and trying to improve. How can I improve my golf game? And then that became how can I improve other people's lives? So,
Mhm.
after I graduated, after I stopped my golf, my striving to be a golf pro, I ended up. So I took a bunch of classes and became educated, became a personal trainer, and I've been training since 2007.
Awesome. That's awesome. And I'm sure you're finding a whole lot of delight in it now that I guess, living vicariously through some of the golfers you get to help them to start to achieve their goals, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big part of my clientele. Golfers from typically like 40 plus.
Yeah.
And, what I see there is lack of mobility, right? Because typically most people are sitting at their desk all day and, you want to get out there on the weekends and play golf. And most people are, I'd say if you're active, most people are strong enough. Strength, having a lot of strength never hurts.
Hmm.
But if you can't apply that strength, then you're missing out.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get into it, shall we? And I want to start with something as basic. Then I want to ask you just to share a few stretches. And you've got um, a cool promo code where folks can get a bundle of the sticks and then get the free golf videos to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about that later. Um, when I got the sticks, I'm the typical guy. Played golf, and then taught golf for most of my life. Now I'm in announcing, and everything that I do is happening in front of me. And I'm sort of
Yeah,
internal with my shoulders. And just like the cell phone person, you like this. And we're getting so fetal in our positioning and so hunched over. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I constantly find myself trying to get into better posture. So your
mm-hmm.
sticks arrived. I grabbed them. I just kind of put it behind my upper back, right? And kind of just started stretching backward like this and opening up my chest. It was something as basic as that. But with the length of the longer stick, I'm not sure how long it is, it just made it so easy to get to this place where I was just opening up for a few minutes and kind of, getting a bit proud and helping my posture, which for me has helped with well-being overall.
Absolutely. So I know you had that stick right behind you.
Yeah.
So if you were to try that, like just put the stick behind your back, like you talked about how you had it
It's gonna be
behind
kind
your
of
upper
hard in my
back.
it's gonna be kind of hard in my little studio.
Oh, a little,
Yeah.
yeah, a little tight there, huh? Okay, all right. Well, let's just say if you had a stick at home, whether it was the StickMobility one or just a long stick, for anyone that's listening,
Hmm.
if you were to place that stick behind your back, what happens is it opens up your chest.
Yeah.
But now, if you were to take your hands and squeeze the stick and try to pull apart, like you were trying to tear the stick apart this way, you
Uh-huh.
would contract your shoulders, you contract all the muscles in your back, and you would start to actively open your chest while strengthening all the muscles that help you get into good posture.
You know what? That's so cool because one, you can't do it with a golf club, and I know all the golfers probably listening to this or watching this. They try and stretch a little bit before they play, but they don't really, and they get a club behind them and they just move around. They're not stretching, they're not activating. And the club, even the driver, is not long enough, and it's awkward. But this thing, it's long enough so you can get that, and you can create that leverage to not just stretch, but to also get strong while you're doing it.
Absolutely. Yep. And then at the same time, you can start to push one side further than the other. And then when you get into the positions, then you can do the same thing, create these muscle contractions so that your body starts to learn, okay, that's okay. It's safe. I can get there. You learn to breathe well. And then now when you get into your whatever motion you're doing, you've been there before.
Yeah. Speak of the safety of it, because we all have a governor, I guess. We have a governor in our golf
Mhm.
swing for speed and stuff. And And the brain is a wonderfully protecting agent for the rest of our body. And when there's that comfort level, stepping outside of it is sometimes it gets one apprehensive. Um, it's hard to really do yourself in when you're using these sticks while you're trying to stretch, or at least get yourself a little bit of a mobility workout, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, just like anything, you can take something too far, too past the point, past that point where you're pushing way too hard. But typically, when you're using the sticks, you'll get to a spot and your body will go, oh, okay, that's that spot where I feel a good stretch, but nothing hurts. And then from there, we start doing our muscle contractions, learn how to breathe, and then we come out of it, and then you can start to build on that range of motion over the course of time. It's not something where, hey, you may get a temporary range of motion gain in one session, but just like golf, just like all kinds of other training, this has to be done consistently. Even 10-15 minutes a day.
Uh-huh.
You do that for the course of a month, 6 months, a year. It'll have some pretty profound effects on your
Really?
overall mobility.
Yeah, it really does. And I'm glad you brought up the frequency thereof. The in terms of the discipline of doing this, because it's kind of hard mentally because we're not playing our best golf and we just want to hit balls, as opposed to
Mhm.
prepare the environment that's going to swing the golf club. So that's a mindset shift. But in doing that, is it as much as was little, I should say, is just 10 to 15 days to start to see gains if you're doing this daily or at least every second day or so?
Yeah, absolutely. Just even if you're doing it you don't have to go through a 45-minute or hour program. You could take 10 to 15 minutes, do it, 3 to 4 times a week. And in 2 to 3 weeks, you should start to feel much better.
Let's build from the ground up a little bit because I love that one, opening up the chest. It's just simple,
Hmm.
not really levering on the stick very much. You're using it more for support. But let's start from sort of the ground up. I'm not going to talk about legs and stuff. They can go to your website and find out more if they sign up for the programs. Um, the hips. This is my own deal, and I find that with the stick, I'm getting a bit creative, and I've put some videos online, where you can sort of teach yourself little moves or just use the stick in different ways. Um, the hips, I just hold it in front of my hips and kind of bend over the top of it as I let my hips kind of post backward. So instead of hunching over in my chest, I hold it over my hips in front and I just trying to bend over the top of it to like a right angle. And you get to stretch up your hamstrings and such. Am I out of bounds with this one, or have you got something similar that you would advise?
No, that's a great drill there. I think with putting the stick behind your back,
Hmm.
I don't, I can demo for you
Yep.
real quick, or
Yeah, please do. Please do.
and kind of walk you through this. But if we have that stick behind our low back,
Yeah.
and you have your hands behind your back, kind of like that drill you just talked about.
Hmm.
From here, this sets you up in this nice tall posture. If you can see me from the side.
Yeah, no, if you don't,
Now,
for the folks listening on audio, Dan's got the stick sort of behind, just above the small of his back, almost his mid back there.
yeah, right on the low back. My hands are on the grips here. And now from this position, I can have soft knees, and then I can just push the hips back. Now the stick behind the back, it gives you that feedback to let you know if I'm rounding through my spine, you'll
Yes.
feel it in the stick. Whereas if the stick is in front, it like you can feel your hips go back, but you may round your spine
Right.
and
Oh, I
not
see what
know it,
you're saying. Yeah.
so that you can get a pure hip hinge here.
And that's so important in the golf swing. And you, as a golfer, competitive golfer, would know this because, look, in the final analysis, the object is hitting the ball. So you've got to get the club to the ball, under the ball to get the ball airborne. And it's
Yep.
so easy to get so internal and sort of hunched over in the chest. And you do that a few times. Yours truly would be an example thereof. 10, how many years I've done golf. Then all of a sudden, you get all flippy and loose through contact. And your friends are saying, well, you got to power up and compress the ball. But that comes out of the spine angle that you were showing there and realize
Hmm.
getting to the ground differently as opposed to just collapsing and sort of throwing your arms and the club at the golf ball.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you can't hinge, then you can't load the ground with
Mhm.
your legs, and then you if you can't load the ground on your downswing, then by the time you get to the ball where you have to push back up into the ground, you're already in early extension.
Mm-hmm. Hey, let's one more while we load down there. You've shown the hip stretch, which is awesome there. Hamstrings are a biggie as well, just stretching the legs. And what I do is I hold the stick out in front kind of with two hands. I use the shorter of the two, and I just let it sort of lean away from me, and I bend over from my hips, and I almost let my body go into a prone sort of a position. And I'm using, because the rubber end of the stick sort of sticks itself to the ground, and I sort of let it fall away from me, and I just stretch myself on that and almost get the feel like I'm lengthening my spine. For the hammies, do you have something else you would recommend, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say if you have the training bundle, then you can use the two sticks.
Okay, right.
And if I were to have my feet together, I would bring, so I'm standing tall here, feet are together. I would bring 1 foot forward. So my heel would be right in line with my other toe,
All right.
but still in line with my hips. From here, we could place the sticks on your shoulders, use them as guide rails.
Okay, okay.
So you're going to be stretching this is my right hamstring, but I could use these as rails. So I'd lightly push into my shoulders. Now you can see my back is nice and
Ah,
flat and
yes,
tall.
I see you.
So you're hinging at the hips, but with the flex of the sticks here, I could drive down. So as you drive down, what happens is you're activating the midsection. So you're bringing some stability here.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing stability into the hip. And then after you do that, while you're in this position, so if you think about, there's multiple hamstring muscles now, you can start to work. Can you see my foot here, Mark?
If you back up just a few, there, that's perfect right there.
Okay. So while you're in this stretch, if I pretend like my foot is a windshield wiper,
Uh-huh.
right? So you're creating the stability to keep your hips still, but now my leg is rotating inside, my femur is rotating inside my hip, and you're creating internal, external rotation at the hip while stretching the hamstring.
That's fantastic. And for the audio folks, Dan's done a great job of describing. But if I just had to add to that, he's got the two long sticks in front of him. They're out at about a 45-degree angle away from him, lodged into the ground. Then they're on your shoulders, and they essentially look like inclined railway tracks. And you're in a
Exactly, yeah.
typical hamstring stretch, but you're just kind of using those tracks for your shoulders to work down, and it's kind of making you bend into the hip hinge more as opposed to, once again, just hunching across the spine and the upper body.
Yeah, and then you can pull the sticks into you, to build some more strength there in the midsection too.
When we're done with this, I'll likely go and try that one. All right, so that's that taken care of. The lower back. I mean, I can't tell you. You know what the drill is, right? The instructor, the pro, will say to the golfer, "Yo, Joe, you've got to go and practice some putting." And after 5 minutes in putting posture, Joe's back is feeling like it's about to lock up. That is some strength. It's certainly some ability. Share with us something they can do with a stick to unlock that area. Because I'm certain when you do this, everyone will be Googling mobility stick and going to your web.
Well, so when you think about the lower back, right, you definitely need endurance in there for golf. But if you have poor mobility in your hips, then what's going to happen is your lower back is going to take
Yeah.
more of that stress, right? So the goal would be, can we strengthen and make the hips mobile, and then at the same time, can we have your upper spine a little bit more mobile as well?
Yes,
So
okay.
if we have control in those two areas, then we'll have less stress on the lower back.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit easier to get into the hip hinge. But I would start from a single leg here. So you can use the two sticks for stability. Right. So I'm in this nice tall stance here. You can see me here.
So the sticks,
And
for the audio folks, the sticks are out in front of Dan. He's got his elbows just gently bent at his sides. So the sticks are out in front of him, kind of parallel with each other. And the arms aren't rigid and straight. They're kind of in a just comfortable bend. And he's holding them kind of 3/4 of the way up.
yeah, so you could think about if you're standing on a clock, the sticks would be at 11 and 1 o'clock.
Right, yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay. So from here, we'd pick the leg up. So you work that single leg stability. And as I'm pushing the sticks into the ground here, I'm driving it 60 to 70% effort. That's going to strengthen the core,
See, okay.
right? You're going to work some single leg strength. We're going to work some hip strength on this side, and then you're going to learn how to hinge at the hip here, pushing back. So strengthening that single leg, but at the same time, my whole spine is lengthened and an extension, and we hold this position. So we're strengthening all those back muscles while we're holding that position. And over time, as you get better and better, then you can start to lighten the load on the stick so that you're doing more of the work with your postural muscles.
So the stick in this instance, folks, for the audio listeners, are more like supports out in front. And what Dan did was he kept the sticks in position and just raised one leg, bended, basically out in front. And then from there, he took the same leg and just let that stretch out behind him and began to bend from the hips and made what was like a straight line from the tip of his head down the leg that was in the air. Man,
Yep.
I have seen so many people that are flexible that they do that. When I've tried it because of strength or balance or whatever the case might be, you're toppling around the place and you having to put the aerial foot down more often than not just to keep your balance. Where this, you're using the sticks to help with balance and you're strengthening up the upper body and then lowering up the lower body and strengthening it too. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, you want to give the body as much stability as you can in the beginning so that it can gain strength, you can gain some confidence, and then slowly start to take, it's almost like having training wheels on a bike.
Yeah.
And then you slowly take it away.
Awesome.
But that way it's just this nice progressive buildup. And then eventually, you can go ahead and load weights on that same exercise.
Okay. This is a goal. Moving up the spine, we've gone from the lower back and the hips. That mid back is sort of an odd place to bear in mind, and it's got to be kind of mobile to make a good strong pivot. You've got to be able to have some rotation in there. But a lot of folks, that's where rounding begins. And I've had trainers say, well, you should get on a foam roller and stuff like that. What I do is I hold the stick behind my back and I'll just really try and almost bend over the back of the thing. Stick across the middle of my back like you were showing, and I just start to lean backwards and kind of look at the sky. Rudimentary me, again, fiddling around. What say you?
So that's a great drill, but just like these other ones, I would try to provide some more stability at first. So we have contact with the ground and the stick.
Yeah.
Now, if you've ever done like a child's pose or something like that in yoga, well, you can use the stick here. Now, it's placed out in front of you, probably a good 4 or 5 feet in front of you. Hands are at chest level.
Okay.
And then we can go into our hinge, and then from here, what I want you to feel like is you're sinking your sternum towards the ground. Yeah. And then once you're in that position, we can create some strength in that position by driving the stick into the ground at that 50-60% effort.
Okay.
So we're going into spinal extension there. And then from here, you'd still push into the ground, and then you'd want to try to round your spine on the other side, because we do need both qualities.
Yeah. So almost like a cat-cow, but just holding the stick out in front of you with your hands around the stick, really, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. It just gives us a way to provide more force into the ground.
Tremendous. And so simple to do. And you know what I'm noticing here too, because I do have the bundle, but I guess I've sort of been naughty in a way, because I've never really used 2 sticks at one time. Maybe it's laziness. Maybe it's I'm not educated enough, but you're educating me. So that brings up the question for the folks. Look, if they get the bundle, they'll get the cool on the mark promotion with the added videos. Can we get by with just one stick? I know you wouldn't want that, but is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so you can.
So you can get one stick, because I've found with a shorter one, it actually fits into a golf bag pretty nicely. It doesn't fit into the trunk of a car very well. But when I take the long, because I use the long one for a lot of lessons, man, I'll tell you what, pivot lessons I can't begin to describe to you. And with that, I've got to get a bit creative getting into the car. But the shorter one fits in the trunk of the car pretty easy.
Yeah, with a short stick, if you're traveling, you put it in your golf bag, and then if you wanted to create some of the hanging drills, which you could do in your hotel room or something like that, is you would just prop the stick up on the coffee table or on the counter.
Hanging drills, man, I wasn't. You're gonna have to share one of those in a second.
Definitely.
First, let's get to the shoulders. Shoulders are a biggie. Oh my goodness gracious. Shoulders. Everyone listening to this, show us or share with us, I should say, a quick drill just to loosen up the shoulders some when the folks get their stick.
So, well, there we go. So this brings us right into to hanging.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you're doing, let's just say you have a single stick, so you can get into, so we call it a monkey hang here, and you would get into a split stance. You'd have two hands on,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd essentially just sink into it until you felt
Some
this nice
stretch.
stretch down your whole torso, all the way into the lat. So this would be an overhead position. Now you know our shoulders function in multiple directions. So we could bring the stick out to the side, and now we could hang forward. So now we're stretching more of the chest area,
This,
right? And then
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I have a moment, people. Please forgive me. This is groundbreaking to me because my massage person was complaining to me about tightness across the chest and weakness across the upper back and stuff. And she was doing this exercise where she had my elbow behind me and was essentially lifting it and straightening it and getting my shoulders more external. And she goes, well, take your bar, lean it in a doorway, and then hook your elbow over with it and lean against there because your weight is putting leverage on the bar and keeping it almost in position as if it was an overhead bar, parallel with the ground. We had folks, Neal had this thing vertical, holding it up on the rubber end of the grip and just sort of sinking down and stretching out the arm that was hanging, the down the side, the whole thing, as you were going down into what looked almost like a lunging position.
yeah, basically lunge. So for while you're hanging, you can change your torso position, which would put your shoulder in a different position. So now you can go 360 degrees. And so we did the lat, we did the chest. Now if we wanted to go more across here to get behind the shoulder blade, backside of the shoulder, we would just work in that other direction.
That looks
And
like a
then with this,
sweet backswing drill there, man. That one
oh
there.
yeah,
Okay. Folks, you got to go to the website to see that. Or I might be naughty and do a little video myself with my drill and show you with my stick and show you that one. Awesome for the shoulders. I know I've kept you for a long time and you likely have clients waiting. And I'm saying this maybe self-serving as a golf instructor and to help other golfers around the place here. I find too many golfers, they've got limited time, all right? Let's say it's an hour. They're away from work. They want to work on their game some. They rush to the course, pop out of the car. If I'm lucky, I get 2 or 3 practice swings, not even, proper warm-up things. Then they're hitting, and then they're wondering why they're not doing well because their body is not prepped and primed and ready. Whereas this, you're essentially kind of tilling the land or sowing or putting in the groundwork for good work. So talk about the value of doing this stuff just before you go and play or even go and practice.
yeah, absolutely. Because if we can prime your nervous system, get the tissues and joints ready for whatever activity we're going to do, especially golf, it's just going to give you a better chance to swing well. So, and you can do this in as little as 5 to 10 minutes too.
And I think about the folks who, I did challenge folks. We had a cardiovascular surgeon on here recently talking about the mind body connection, and he was challenging folks to walk around the course more. Look, if you move, it's good for your body. Your body wants to heal itself. But for the cart drivers, take the short one with you in the back of the carts. I mean, in the middle of your
Yeah,
round, you can kind of loosen yourself up because the body will tighten up throughout the day. Am I right?
it can, especially as you get fatigued too. Just don't put the short stick in your golf bag because it might count as a club.
There's the golfer in you talking. Hey, you spoke of the code. I think this is so cool. I appreciate you wanting to help out our global tribe like this. Do share the code and then share with folks where they can find you on social media and of course the website so they can get themselves one if they want.
Yeah, so the code is on the mark,
All right.
and you go to stickmobility.com, and if you purchase a training bundle, then what you'll do is you'll get access to. So we have 2 golf videos. We have a basic golf mobility one, and then we also have another one called Golf Feels
Mm-hmm.
for power. And worked with Jake Hutt to create that one, and the whole goal there is to create the sensations that really good golfers feel to make the golf swing athletic.
Yeah. Jake has been on this podcast. It was a fun one we did together because he likes to sing and make music, right? I had him because, as a golf instructor, it's our job to take a concept or describe to a golfer where he or she is, explain to them the concept, make it cerebral, and then turn that cerebral into a feel.
Mhm.
But, Bobby Jones is my hero. And Jones once said that sometimes the easiest lessons learned are the ones most easily forgotten. So I said to Jake, hey, just about everyone remembers songs and lyrics to songs. So why don't you
It's
make
true.
5 little ditties or whatever that can make it easy for folks to remember tips? And we had a ball with it, and I thought he did a tremendous job. But to those feels, what that one where you were doing the sort of hanging stretch across your body, kind of looked like a backswing to me. What a sensational feel hip hinge, and then
Hmm.
it's association between upper body and lower body. And then, of course, the stretch, because so many golfers, they get to the top and everything just collapses. And then their friends tell them they're overswinging, where it's really just, weakness and lack of mobility that causes some of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what'll happen too is you forget about how your feet and legs work in the golf swing, because we can get into the position. You can move your arms into what may look like the right position, but there's nothing behind it because you're not using the ground to turn and really load the hip and just load all these different tissues to help you generate that natural recoil on the
Mm.
way down.
I'm going to go a long way here, and I want this to be your parting shot because I'm a firm believer. You talked about isometrics, right? I'm a firm believer in that if you put yourself into the position and you get used to it and you sort of prepare the muscles in the body, getting there becomes easier, even if you aren't hitting golf balls. Now, this is not a mandate, folks, to not go and practice. But I spoke with Nick Fel. Well, I've spoken with Nick Fellow a bunch. And I did ask him the one time, I'm like, if you had it to do over, what would you do? And he said to me, he goes, I would practice in front of a mirror way more often. What you're saying there, I guess, is the same thing where you can just go and practice these positions with the stick, and you're actually doing your golf swing a favor, even though you're stretching and getting stronger.
Yeah, because you're also you're building this physical capacity
Yeah.
at the same time training your body to be in that position without having that outcome of seeing the golf ball go all over the place.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it's amazing how we can respond to that. Okay, folks. Neal, I'm so very thankful. Once again, the code is on the mark. They can get if they get the training bundle. Do describe to them what the bundle is before I let you go.
So the bundle it's 3 sticks. You'd get 2 long sticks. So depending on your height, you'd either get a 6 footer, or if you're shorter than 5'10", you'd want to get the 6 footer, six
Hmm.
footers, and then that would come with a 4 foot stick. And then the taller bundle is 5'10" plus. You get 2 7 footers and a 5 footer.
And they're so well worth your while. For the folks listening on audio, I've got my 4 footer. It's been sitting right next to me. I've got my hands on the rubber end of it.
Yeah.
I can put it on the hardwood floor in here, and it doesn't go anywhere because of the rubber end. So this thing's awesome, and it's nice and flexible. Highly recommend, and I'm not getting paid to say so. Neal, you're the best, man. I so appreciate you. I love what you guys have done, and I'm so thankful you would come and join us and offer the code for the fans. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.